hopefully he shows up.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. That thing said we went live like a long time ago, but didn't tell us. So
Maybe.
I know that's what happened. It said live 23 seconds ago. It's fast.
I've got a minute already, and we just came on. So
wow, mine says 30 seconds.
You're on a 30-second delay.
No, for sure. Well, hello. This is Church of Mabus radio show. Tonight's guest, Christo Roppolo, may be with us shortly. That's Roppolo, Christo Roppolo. So he had a documentary out called The Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs. And then he had a sequel called The Man Who Sees UFOs. So he was coming to talk about those, and hopefully he joins us. But we'll talk about some other things, and we'll see what happens. So I'll talk about him regardless, even if something happens. I have enough to say about him that could last a segment. But anyway, so the point is, he had these documentaries, and the first one, he was in it in Monterey, California, and he has excellent UFO footage, and he has access to UFO footage that's happening in that area that's pretty fabulous. It's really good footage. It's not bad at all. And the whole documentaries have series of the footage intertwined within the story of him. So it's 2 parts. But it's definitely worth checking out if you get a chance. I know the first one's on Tubi, and the second one is on Vimeo. So you can go there to check those out and listen to them and everything. Okay, that was just someone saying something in the chat room. But you can go there to view them.
Is it free on Vimeo? Because I know most of the time you have to pay for Vimeo, but I think I saw the first one on Tubi.
The Vimeo is the newest one. You got to pay like $5 for it.
Okay.
But Tubi's free, but I think you can do premium on there or something like that. You saw the first one?
Yeah, I think it was the first one. I don't know, but it was weird because he's like on some golf course running around and telling how he went by this one palm tree and went to the bathroom and then saw UFOs. And it was really, the beginning was really off. It was weird as hell. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one I saw.
Yeah, and he has the dog from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Chewbacca. And I didn't know the dog had passed away, so God rest his soul. In the second movie, you find that out. But he basically has an iPad sitting at home, and I gave him the link to join us. So he either will or he won't. Hopefully he does. If not, we'll be freewheeling tonight, Willie.
Willy-nilly.
That's right, for sure. So either way, I'm hoping he shows up so we can talk to him like we had planned. So what did you think of the documentary? You saw it. Do you remember the little dog and everything?
I didn't really pay attention to the dog. I was looking more for the UFO footage. I've seen so many. You can tell when they're fake, and I don't think he has any fake stuff on there. But it just the beginning is what struck me as the funniest. Is he's talking about how he sees this UFO over here, then he runs over there and goes to the bathroom under a tree, and then goes back over here, and the UFO went this way to that way. It was, and they intertwined it between the footage, so it was kind of confusing. But I think he got some pretty quality footage.
Yeah, that's what's so great about it, is there's really good footage. So the footage will blow your mind, and he just keeps getting it continually. And I don't know, what it is. I'm not going to say it's aliens. I don't know what it is. It could be anything. It could be military stuff. I think some of it's weird, though. Some of it's really strange. He definitely seems to get a lot of it, and it's really good. I know it was on Netflix for a little while, but it's not there anymore. So, but definitely worth checking out for sure. That dog passed away. I didn't know that he had passed away. Christo Roppolo himself passed. I mean, he passed away for 45 seconds and had a medical situation and survived that. That was in the second one. So hopefully everything's okay tonight. I think it is, hopefully health-wise. Hopefully it's just a tech issue. And he may show up at any moment, but he may not. But either way, we'll just keep on trucking. So, were you on his profile at all, Jay, on Facebook?
I don't think so. I can go and double check. I don't think I am. Yeah. But the thing that struck me is not only was the video that he had was pretty good. It reminded me of that guy in Clearwater, Florida, that got all the Polaroids of those, those blue and white discs over Florida. And almost maybe like a little bit like Billy Meyer. It seemed like they were presenting themselves to him for filming. Like it wasn't like, oh look, there's a UFO. Take a crappy out of focus blurry picture. It's like they were intentionally here. Look at us. Take a picture and send it to your friends.
Yeah, and he had different names for them. Like his personality is pretty funny. But jellyfish, squids, Mr. Stinkles, Egghead. Just it's silly, but it's silly in a lot of ways. But the footage is what is actually pretty damn good. I mean, it's some weird stuff. Someone may be able to explain it. Maybe weird military stuff, maybe alien stuff. I don't really know. I'm on the fence with all of it. I don't know what any of it is, but it's definitely different for sure. Definitely seems more than conventional, regular aircraft, right? From what you've seen, he actually took some footage and put it on his Facebook for us recently in celebration of coming on. So that was pretty interesting. Did you see that video?
No, did he put it on the Mabus website? Mabus.
I put it up. I put it on the group. I put it on my profile also. So, but just check it out when you can if you haven't seen it yet. But it's over Monterey, so a lot of different weird stuff for sure. I don't know how much. Do you remember the footage much from? There's some Holy Grail of footage in The Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs.
I don't know which one is that the second one. I didn't see it.
That's the first one.
Is it? I don't remember specifically. No. Like I said, it just struck me as it being more like an opportunity like Billy Meyer got, or that guy in Florida, the Clearwater guy, that they wanted to be seen. And I don't think they're not conventional for sure. They're definitely not winged aircraft. They're maybe extrasolar or extraterrestrial, but they could also be military. They could be combination. They could be alien craft made out of our solar system, but given to our military to operate.
Reverse engineered. Who knows? A lot of different stuff for sure. Have you had any UFO sightings, Jay?
Not recently. A couple long time ago. A buddy of mine and I were sitting at the end of this one street, waiting for another friend of ours to show up. And across the top of it was between my house and the neighborhood where we were sitting was a set of power lines. And just above the power lines, like right above, just clearly, maybe 50 feet above the tree level, we saw two colored streaks. One was purple, one was orange, go. And I've never seen a plane with purple or maybe orange lights, but never purple. Seen one in college with some buddies of mine. We were out in we were playing on a swing set in the back of an elementary school at like 4 a.m, drunk as hell, and this silent machine just passed right over top of us over the trees. I mean, not even less than 200 feet high, really close to the ground, no sound, and we were all like, we were speechless for a good 30 minutes after it left. We just stood there just like, and then finally someone said, "Did you see that?" Yeah, we just broke the silence after that. So I've seen quite a few. Wish I'd see something more recent, but that's about it.
Well, that's a good one for sure. definitely, no doubt about it. That's a good sighting. I've had quite a few myself. I saw a weird triangle craft recently
Yeah,
over
I saw that.
the area here, and I
Mhm.
don't know what it was. It could have been military, could have been alien. I lean towards military, but it was definitely a triangle type craft. And I know they have those. What are the ones that they've declassified? What is that, T something something something?
Well, I don't know if they've declassified it, but it's the TR-3B. Um, the first triangle craft they declassified was the F-117 stealth fighter, and sightings of those started in probably the early to mid 70s on forward until was it 1988, 89, whenever the first Gulf War opened up. That's when they launched them out to fight Baghdad, and they were declassified at that point. So the early 90s so maybe 20 years worth of UFO sightings of the F-117 before it was released, and the TR-3B is only, I don't know, maybe the most last recent things within the last 10 years when it started being seen and classified. So I don't think it's declassified yet, but a lot of people, especially up here, it flies over like the Ohio Valley and upper and western New York, where most of the sightings of the TR-3B come from.
Well, I know in my early 20s, I saw some triangle craft over some power lines that I was with a friend of mine, and it was like they were sitting over power lines, and a ball of light came out of them, and they were triangle craft. Uh, I don't know what they were, but I'll never forget them ever. And oh, he's trying to call me. Hold on. Let's see what's going on. Hold on just a second.
All right.
Hey there, Christo.
I just wanted to check in and see what time you want me to click on this link, my time.
Oh, you need to click on it as soon as possible to join us.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Okay, all right.
Okay, peace.
Peace. Bye. I think we may have had a time zone mix up, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
My gosh. I know he's in California, so
Yeah,
for sure.
3 hours
I
ahead,
don't.
3 hours behind us.
So hopefully he's going to click the link. So if he does, he will join us. Definitely anxiety ridden. It's Mercury retrograde. Let's blame that. I'm kidding. Then a lot of tech stuff. Had a lot of tech situations show up with guest scheduling and stuff. Like I desired to get more Native American guests on, and I have three coming on in the months to come. But I just got dates mixed up. It was just like an email. I'm just a complete idiot. I fixed it all, but like I got too many now. I got it all fixed though, so it's definitely been some little things coming up. No computer stuff. Oh, I had to re-update my Xbox or something. It had like the black screen of death. That was right before all that started. It's fine now. I had to reformat it all. So that was a shadowy Merc Retro pre-slap. I fixed it luckily. But hopefully he's going to join us soon. We'll see. Other than that, any more Sasquatch sightings, Jay?
No, but on my drive home, it's pretty.
We got him.
You got him?
Here I am. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
sir. How you doing, Christo Roppolo? How's it going?
Well, it's actually going really well. Today was a very good day. Here, let me get better light on me there.
All right, you're coming in loud and clear. That's good. We are connected. The mothership is connected. Thank Jesus.
Good. Yeah, thank him, because I'll tell you what, God blessed me today in a way that I couldn't even imagine. I've been praying for the last year that some issues that occurred while we were filming the second movie, right around the time of the election, and just got some very good news that all came to pass. So I'm very, very happy about that, because I want the message. A lot of it is for people to be peaceful with each other and respect each other. And when people ask me what the sightings have taught me, a lot of it is that we need to all start communicating with each other, not just the aliens. But I believe that there's an open invitation to all of us, and that's what these formations are about, us becoming a part of that community. I'm glad to be here.
Great for you to be here as well. That's what's so wonderful about your story is the footage you get is amazing. Like, to me, it's really, really good compared to other stuff I've seen. It's great. Like, it's all like you're definitely trying to figure out what's going on. What is going on with a lot of it? I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it from, is it a military vehicle? Is it an alien vehicle? How do you differentiate some of it? Or how do you guess it?
Well, there's an array of objects that, do these formations. It's not just one form of orb or anything that do those formations. That's how you know that this is a concept that they all share and that they're sharing with us. The triangles, these towers and the eyes side by side, them melting into each other as a symbol of joining. And I'm very fortunate because I'm open to it, and even when a lot of people were dismissing it as complete nonsense, which I guess it was just a year ago, huh, guys? So they all caved in after, I don't know, I think I bombed them from 2014 on with a sighting almost every other day for 2.5 years until I got sprayed by a helicopter and then. So life changes very quickly, but I'm glad today that it changed for the better. Definitely.
Do you want to share your good news with us yet?
Well, it's like I said, it's some stuff that's ongoing, so I can't really discuss it. But the biggest caveat of it is that it means that we can move forward with the third film. So there is going to be a third feature film, and it will, of course, be a direct sequel to this last one. This last one turned out to be kind of a horror movie when we intended to go down the path of more like a road movie with a little lighter theme. My flirting with Angel, the Truth Seeker, who is probably one of the most significant people I've ever been to a sighting with, aside from being very beautiful and very, very good.
It's definitely great, and the personality of it, and trying to figure out has there ever been a point there where, like, law enforcement or anything's like, quit doing this? Did they ever try to say anything to you? I know I'm just trying to figure out what they think. Like, or did they ignore it?
Some of the local police were very, very cool in the beginning when we started doing it. We had some locations that, were kind of almost in town, but they were on the ley lines that a lot of these sightings happened. So some of the city cops would come up, and once they saw that we were doing heroin or something up on the dune in the middle of the night, we had our cameras and we were filming, and we'd offered to let them look through the camera and see what we were doing. They were pretty cool. But when we would go to some of the more secure locations, especially me, because I like to go out into the field by myself, it's actually safer for me because it's easier for me to conceal myself. And when you go near a secret base, some stuff can happen. And it's not a good idea to test that too much, because the people that are in charge of those bases, they have protocols and they have countermeasures to make sure that when you're in a place that you're not supposed to be, you get caught, you're definitely going to face some consequences. But for me, there's been some good things too. And it's like in the third movie, I want to have a part of it dedicated to some of the sightings that I wasn't able to film. And I want to be connected to a lie detector test while I'm telling these tales of sightings that I had, but I wasn't able to capture them by film. And some of them were really significant and involved big craft, the disc style, flying saucer type, especially when I was near the bases. And, that was my first opportunity to look inside of a craft for the first time, which this large transparent disc at first came up behind me when I was in front of a secret base that's up in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I'll refrain from the location, but I was filming the gate itself. So my camera was set up. I just, like so many people say, I saw this light coming from behind me, and I assumed it was one of the Rangers that were up in that area, because there's just a couple of their bases up there too. And when I turned around, it was anything but that. It was like a giant transparent disc that was filling up with like the color of white. So it became completely opaque white. It came over the top of me, it stopped, and it opened like an iris in a lens. When I looked up inside of it, it was like there was a bunch of smaller orbs that were inside of one of these amoeba-like sacs, like an amoeba, but it was really big. It was inside of this mist that was up inside, and I looked up in there for about 30 seconds or so, and as soon as I started reaching for my camera, which was filming the gate while this thing was happening over my head, it closed itself back up. It didn't just do it like there's a door or something. The whole craft itself contracted back up into a smaller size. It became clear again and started swimming out over the cliffs by the communication towers that I was nearby, and right out into the air traffic. And I could watch it going right by all of the aircraft that were on their way to San Jose on the other side of the hill. But that's one thing to do in the next film.
Awesome, definitely. Well, I've personally had a lot of UFO experience, so I know how weird it gets, and some of them will take a while for you to get over the rest of your life.
Yep.
You don't get over them.
No.
And I mean, a vast array of UFO sightings that I've seen, from triangle craft to energy type stuff. It's like some of it is alive, like it's like a jellyfish in the sky. I've seen like a amoeba that was amorphous with like a gold liquid in the sky.
People have now begun to describe that particular category of UFOs that you're referring to as a jellyfish, because they look so much like it. When you really get a good close look at them, and you see those little.
It's weird.
Very definitely. I tell people they move the orbs around, and like that thing that was inside of that UFO that went over my head, the disc, it was amorphous too, but it didn't have any tentacles or anything. It just had the orbs inside of it. I've only seen orbs inside of another object one other time, and it was this huge thing that was on Del Monte Beach. I just was driving on Del Monte Beach one night, coming over with friends, and there, hovering over the water, was this big ball thing that looked almost identical to the thing that was inside of this disc, but it was just smaller. So I don't think size either counts, and I think they can manipulate particles as well, which is kind of what you're talking about, where they're almost organic in nature.
Yes. Well, what is it about that area? I know there's the native perspective of what is it about that area? Wasn't there something strange with natives and UFOs or something bizarre?
The Indians, the Soledad Indians, all of them worshipped their sky gods, and the sky gods were above those mountains. And those mountains, coincidentally, were struck by an iron ore meteorite 11.5 million years ago, which created that big bowl in that valley in Santa Cruz. And you've got places up there like the old logging mill where, they had the actual logging companies sold it back to the government, which owns big swaths of it again, because there's these gravity anomalies up there. When they were surveying, they couldn't use the surveying stuff to do it correctly, because there were these distortions in the numbers. So, there's a lot of secret base activity in those mountains also, because those mountains are like granite, and really thick old stumps of mountains are millions of years old. They found a mastodon tooth, or not a mastodon, one of the giant sharks. They found one of its teeth on the mountain. So at some point,
How does the media there react to it all? I mean, do
they concentrate more on the tourist stuff, and they tend to frown on coverage like that because they want to, keep the tourists coming. And the town developed a reputation after the first film came out, but the people that own restaurants and hotels in this area very, very curious about this to another Riviera, California coast, and damn the guns. Respects to my research, when the cruise ships start coming back into the formations will definitely increase. For a fact that the orbs out at sea follow around cruise ships on a regular basis, and there was even one of the captains of one of the pleasure ships that went back into service recently that just filmed an amazing red orb, Eggman craft, going right into the ocean, right in front of the ship. So, really cool stuff. But I find it really kind of telling that the very people who are telling us all that, you field researchers, you people that are out there doing it on your own, you're just misidentifying aircraft. And it's actually turned out to be exactly the opposite of that. Because now we know that a lot of these craft can mimic, especially when they move in groups, they can mimic aircraft. And they do it by emitting these lights internally that from a distance you can't tell the difference between them and a plane. And they did that up on Mount Umunum when we were filming the second movie, but because of some issues with the camera, we weren't able to photograph them coming out of the cloud in the shape of an airplane, like a straight line. We thought it was one of those gliders, that was flying around the world, big electric gliders or something. But just when I was telling the cameraman, the director, that it was a plane, it started breaking apart and making these formations of a triangle and all the classic typical formations that they make.
So have you had any experience with beings that may have been from these craft, like on other levels or anything like that?
Yes. After some of the circumstances in the hospital that's in the second film unfolded, I was in a coma and I woke up after about 2 or 3 days of being out. I was out of my bed, laying on the floor. I tried to get up, tried to push myself up off the floor. I actually was pushed back down onto the floor again by 2 orbs that were in the hospital room with me. And at that time, the nurses, because when I fell out of bed, I guess it registered something on the instruments inside of the nurses' quarters. She came in and she saw them on my back, and she's like, "Is that a fire on you?" And lifted up and disappeared into the woods. And then another time, I was at my house in the first movie, in a little cottage. I woke up after a dream about it, and I just felt like there was something in the room with me. And I had this closet that was right next to my bed. And so I opened the door real slowly. And I was like, "I know you're in there. I can tell you're in there." And as I said that, I saw like the features of a face just come out like that. Just barely into the light enough. Looked kind of like an ape with feathers. And so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm just telling you what happened, but whether I was in fact awake or not while this was happening is debatable. I jumped in the closet and wrestled around with it, and then I woke up again on the floor in the bathroom. So yeah, those are 2 contacts. And then there was a third one with Chewbacca, where we were out on the deck in the daytime at this yucca plant that was at the end of my deck. We had been sighting daytime all day long. They were flying high, webs and stuff. Chewbacca started barking in the direction of the yucca plant. And so I looked over in the yucca direction, and the yucca plant wasn't there anymore. It was this extremely bright light, like somebody had put a big full-size mirror up against the wall where the yucca plant was. And it was getting wider and wider, and then I noticed I could not move. I was paralyzed, and I was kind of like forced to look at it. The harder I looked at it, and the deeper I looked into it, I could see something coming towards me. And so I couldn't move my eyes. I looked over at Chewbacca, who was still barking. Chewbacca, come here. And he did, and he came over and pushed me. All of a sudden I could move again. And the tree was back. And that was what happened. But those are things I want to do on a lie detector test, being questioned randomly without being.
Definitely, and sorry about your dog passing. My dog Jack passed. He had been with me 16 years, so I understand it's definitely sucks a whole lot. Have you?
The dog he was just like, he was the most friendly. You know, he was just a big giant bear of love. You know, so I would constantly get stopped by people all the time. If their kids could take a picture with him. You know, it was a regular thing. So yeah, we miss him very badly. And Mr. Gino's sleeping in the room right now, but he's just turned 24 years old. And you know, Gino, the dog I had before him, that looked just like him, would be 27 years old. So maybe the sightings have something to do with their longevity.
I went nutty and started doing these dog afterlife shows, and I do know they're still there. That's all I'm going to say after that.
If you go to a shelter, if you got your dog, say at a shelter or something, like what I did when I found Gino was I went in there with the intention of looking for a dog that looked like Gino and calling out his name or Gina's name. I went into the no-kill center where I got Gina, and I yelled, "Gina, are you here?" This dog barked, and sure enough, when I went to the cage where the bark came from, it was Gino, who looks very, very similar to Gina. And I believe that the dogs are reincarnated into that. Their spirit follows you around. You know, it's like a life companion, a spirit guide almost. Abel Ferrara just released a movie called Siberia. And the shaman, the spirit guides, are this big group of Siberian Huskies that take him on these sled rides into the mountains where he has all these metaphysical experiences.
I'll have to check it out for sure. There's been some experiences with him that I've seen him out of the corner of my eye, and you do a double take, and it's almost like he was under the bed or under a car, and it was weird, like a hologram. It was like he was letting me know he was still here. And I think we're still connected to him. Definitely, you're right about that for sure. So,
yeah. Their spirit, you call to it. I tell people, I say, if you want that back in your life, that energy, that spirit, just call out. They can hear you. You know, there's one thing that's kind of a physical fact, which is gravity and sound can travel through the dimensional barrier. That was a long time ago. So, you know, force of gravity, sound is a powerful thing. Never forget we're capable of doing all of that stuff right here in our dimension. It's like when people ask why when they go to Mars, they don't find any aliens walking around or things like that. Well, see, we're the one that exists in this kind of dimensional existence. If you go someplace else, chances
one of my big experiences.
Yeah, the things that are there don't even exist in the same dimension we do, even on that planet. So, yeah, that's where
one of my big experiences was seeing beings of light, like actual light beings, and That's kind of, and I had testicular cancer happen when I was 17, and I think that may have been like a spiritual catharsis to see that kind of stuff. So it was like, are we beings of light out of these bodies, or kind of like Cocoon and Ron Howard, those movies with the cocoons and old people? There's definitely some truth in that old movie for sure. But one thing, when it comes to all these experiences, what do you think is happening with the ones that you're seeing? I mean, a majority of them, what do you think is
It's
happening?
about consciousness, bro. Consciousness is eternal. That's what you were just talking about. That is the link. That's the universal fabric, is consciousness. And at different levels of existence, there is consciousness that's evolved to have a body, not have a body, be able to, exist in an environment that is artificial, that is able to merge the artificial with the organic. It's a way to evolve and exist in space. We already know for a fact that with scientific data that shows how long we know it takes for life to evolve on a given planet. And remember, life can evolve in all different kinds of environments, because it doesn't necessarily have to come out like us. So with our timeline, the measurement, almost every single planet in the galaxy that we know of ourselves has already had more than millions and millions of years more than any life form involved of those worlds or in any of those galaxies. So just by virtue of our own timeline for evolution, we know that if there is life out there, it's had millions more years than it even needs to evolve to our level, right? Much less a type 3 entity or type 2 or, the ultimate concept, the whole show, I believe. I mean, when I passed away, it was like, there was no pain. There was quite something. And when you wake up and you're back, you feel this vibrancy, this need to really do something with your life. So I quit drinking. I haven't had anything to drink for 2 years now.
That's good. That's good.
And, yeah, that made a big difference for me. Drink a lot of kombucha.
This stuff is interesting for sure. Well,
it's good when you get old.
I've tried that recently, and it's definitely different, but I've done it. It's weird, but most things are lately. So I just
kombucha with the spirulina in it. It's really a life changer.
So Jay's seen your documentary, the first one.
Yeah.
What you got, Jay?
Yeah, and we were talking about this before you got on the show. Especially in the opening minutes, the footage you have is, other non-believers would still argue it's fake. You made it in the computer, and I don't believe that. But it immediately struck me as, it seems to me that they're presenting themselves to you kind of like the way they did to Billy Meyer and that guy in Florida that did the Clearwater videos. Yeah. So is that what's happening? Is they're like saying, "Hey, photograph us for your friends"?
Yeah. Well, it's a dance. It's there are other people like me too in this world, and they select us for whatever reason. I don't know. I know that I've had experiences. I know that means that they've made contact with me outside of my conscious mind, in a non-waking state. But and this has been occurring long before I began my research. The research started back in 2001 or something like that. Just about 12 years before the 2012 sighting. Now that catapulted me into doing it full time. But also Dorothy Izzat. I don't know if you're familiar with Dorothy Izzat.
No.
She had very similar.
Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I got those books actually in the video, in the documentary. I've seen it.
Amazing. And I've been using some of her techniques with shooting at 1/24th of a second, so that you get those little frames where they're spelling your name or they're drawing a heart that says "I love you," creating pictures of them sitting inside of a craft or standing inside of a craft. And it's very easy to see. You know, it's like they're not just kind of loosely defined pictures. They're, you know, some of them are just stunningly realistic looking. You're like, wow, this is a picture, a photograph. Her stuff, I've always had immense respect for because she was not she was one of the usual suspects, right? So,
Capturing the light.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff in there that was like, wow, is that like just passed over their window at like family gatherings and stuff like that? There's weird stuff in there. I got the book, I need to read it, but the documentary.
Telling her that she was talking to devils, you know, which is.
So, but you said that this has been the experience has been going on for a while. So, do you have abduction stories, or you just encounters, visual encounters?
I had, for me, I've never had some grays walk into the room with little robot people and manipulate me out of the roof consciously. Mm-hmm. Have had dreams that involved going into a ship, a craft. One was where we went into a craft that we were in it, and there was just a portal on the front of it. And the inside of the craft was this fibrous material that when we were in it, we were all floating around in there, and it was like fur or something. Mm-hmm. So we would bump it around in there, and this fur would keep us positioned in a certain way so that we could sit in this thing. And we were looking out through this portal, and they were saying, look, this is our planet. We're coming closer now. You'll see once we go through the atmosphere. The atmosphere was this smoky, weird, black fog. And when we went down on the planet was remarkably like the inside of the interior of that craft, where it was all of these fibrous hairs everywhere. It was just like oceans of them going back and forth.
Right. So you get a sense that craft seems like it was organic, perhaps.
Yeah.
And if they've talked about this in other UFOs, one of the ones that they had at Area 51, allegedly, and I don't think this is one of the ones Bob Lazar talked about, but other people had touched the craft, the outside of the craft, and then it felt like flesh or skin, and their hand kind of sunk in like it was, like the blubber of a whale or whatnot. It was how they described it. So are some of these machines actual creatures, or is it kind of combination creature bio, or are they?
I think it's a symbiotic relationship between entities that are responsible for these guys, and also too, remember, we have drones and stuff, and we're now getting onto this robot thing. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that a whole craft can't be that a conscious, construct that they send here to explore, and, to learn about us, and it's organic enough that if it's damaged or if it needs to be repaired or all of these things, it'd be able to fix itself basically. So
I've seen some of their probes before, at least one, and it was basically trash can shaped, like just the barrel body part of R2D2 without the dome.
Right.
And if it had come down, it was way up high, probably 300 or 400 feet in the air. But if it had come down to me, it probably wouldn't have been no larger than your typical silver trash can that you put out in the front yard. But it was just sitting there, just very slowly spinning.
You saw those things in the second film, right? That Angel called those two big silver tower things.
I didn't get a chance to see the second film, so no, I hadn't seen. Jeffrey might have seen
those. Check it out when we go up.
I saw it.
Of Mount Amanum, Angel and I go into the middle of an Indian stone circle, 7,000-year-old stone circle at 5,100 foot elevation. We signaled the UFOs in broad daylight from a bunch of people there. These two metallic towers appeared, and they came in from right and left, and they moved into the center, and they turned, rotated, and locked together like chain links. Started spinning really fast. It would stop, it would alternate their positions halfway. They did this for probably 3 or 4 minutes, and then separated and went off in the same directions that they appeared in. I mean, when you see something that looks like a building, it comes rolling in, and not only, it doesn't just move in slowly like some kind of zeppelin or something. This thing moved in like it was a missile or something. Stop.
Stop. A lot of them have
Think
that
about
ability to
Angel.
stop dead on a dime.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And that's the thing about Angel. She's calling these objects, some of which I have never seen before in my life, and that is her specific channel. I think a lot of us researchers have very specific channels that we transmit on and that they receive us on. Angel has a tendency to be able to do all these nuts and bolts craft. And I mean, when you see something silver, moving like that, and it makes no sound, it's on the flight path that a lot of jets are on and stuff, they approach to San Jose. It's breathtaking. And that same day, that night, then I signaled my fashion of signaling, and the orb showed up, like I told you, and fooled us, thinking that there was a plane. It came out of the cloud. It wasn't until it started separating that we even knew that it was orbs. So, and back at you, Tom, blinking lights don't mean anything.
yeah, no.
There's some very, very smart people in the UFO community who understand now because of this mimicking thing that we're discovering. And Allison Cruz, I don't know if you've heard her name before.
No.
She took a lot of hell from people for trying to show people that they could mimic our aircraft, and that they did it with internal lighting, and that some of them were capable of shape-shifting, which everybody just laughed at her and said, you're high on acid, and too bad you're misidentifying airplanes. When in fact, now the Navy and that last footage that they got with the flying triangles, the flying pyramids, right? Those all had beacons, every single one of them. Another one back at you. They have light, little beacons, and they use that to mimic us, so they can get really close to us in the airspace before we even notice them. Because we're so arrogant, we see a few blinking lights or anything that's similar to a plane. We're like, oh, well, I know what that is. It's a plane, right? We don't even know if that's a human in the plane if it is a plane, right? But we just automatically assume all of it. And now we know that the government has paid the weight of all of this field research. So, and I worked with MoFon on a couple of things. They're good to a certain extent, but I think a lot of people try to project their own values to the orbs, their behaviors, and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, you can't do that. Anything that is like a type 1 or type 2 alien civilization, even like 3 orb or anything like that, they're pretty much hip to our games. They've been watching us for a long time. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that too. But the other thing is that people also try to project onto you is that if you're describing an experience that you've had, that you've seen, they try to project what they think you saw. And it's like, you can't do that. I was there. You weren't. I know what I saw.
That's right.
And
that was the game for a long time.
Huh?
That was the debunker's classic game for a long time. Oh, maybe I can get you to second guess yourself.
Yeah, no, and they can't. I mean, I have a degree in videography with some minors in actual still photography, and before that, I took some classes in actual film cinematography. So I'm a trained observer, and before I even took the video and cinema classes, I took 2 years in college in preference of becoming a policeman. So I know how to look at things. Right. I'm not just some guy looking up in the sky going, "Oh wow, look at that." I know what I'm looking for.
A lot of the footage in the second film now was filmed by the director. I was signaling and he was filming. Unlike the first film where the director was using only film, that I shot myself. This film, we brought the director. We had him stand there while the UFOs were in front of us. So he knows they're real. That's why he lets me do all the talking, because he doesn't even want to talk. The director of second, Matthew, is a really great guy, but he's very busy, and he just, he concentrates on making. That's
the best way to make somebody who's a non-believer a believer is they give them the camera and say, "Look, here they come."
Here they are.
Cool. But with all of your experience so far, I've been researching this since I was like 11, so it's like 40 some years. But it always flip flops back and forth. The alien grays are bad. The alien grays are good. They're
Right.
good, bad, good, bad. So do you get the ones that you're seeing? They're probably benevolent. But do you get an idea from them or from any other information that there are some bad ones out there that we need to look out for?
I only have those experiences that I described to you, like the wrestling in a closet. That wasn't a very good experience. Being paralyzed on the deck, that wasn't a very good experience.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that makes you freeze like a mannequin, that's very troubling. So those kind of things, I'm not sure which one of the aliens those were, but like I said, I could see somebody coming towards me, right? With the orbs, there's none of that. Orb is a ball of energy that's amorphous, change shape and stuff, but it's an orb. And people think that they go, oh well, you zoom in on the orb, and I'm like, it looks identical to what it looks like. I've seen it 5 feet away, 100 miles away. I've seen them in every setting you can imagine, and they look like orbs. So people want to kind of have the whole subject unfold, and then like Steven Spielberg closes down, all these various craft come tumbling out of this one ship, and this is a Romuloid ship, and this is the Alterian 5. We're not that far along yet. We're still at a point where the aliens understand that there are some people who are very interested in them, who are aware of them. And that's important because people are pretty primitive compared to them. And the idea that even a few of us are making the attempt to communicate with them, who are vastly more intelligent than us, is significant. And it's very, I think it gives them hope for us, because they've been, I'm pretty sure, watching us blow the hell out of each other for a long time now. Probably pretty uninteresting.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that as well. They've been watching us since probably before we were even able to read and write. But the thing is that there's,
all the scripture and all of the cave painting,
all
the hieroglyphs, even some of the Da Vinci painting, all depict UFOs in them.
Yeah, they're in our history for the longest time. But the sad thing is that we have also this. You mentioned the scripture in biblical words. There's the war in heaven, the war between heaven and earth.
Yep.
Some of them are fighting. So Carl Sagan said that if we go out in search of alien life, it may be so alien we'd never recognize it. And then Stephen Hawking said, and Stephen Hawking was talking about the SETI program. He's like, we probably ought to be sending out signals looking for alien life, because we might find an alien intelligent life that's not so friendly.
Well, the angelic Nephilim, for instance, right?
Yeah.
How many different biblical scriptures, feature the Nephilim, right?
Yeah, they're all over the place,
right? So, I mean, even the devil is depicted as a Nephilim with wings, and it's that whole understanding of the real direct meaning of that, I think, is still outside of our grasp to understand fully. I know, because of these bases, that there have to have already been some levels of advanced communication, technology swapping, what have you. But again, those would be entities that would be approachable as we would be able to approach another person, right?
Or a dog, yeah.
Right. So there's going to be whole different range of things coming out of that experience of ETs as there would out of something that eventually you guys are going to evolve through all these different stages until you become this, And if you wanted to know why you believe so deeply in the soul, you use that word. Here it is. It's a stage of evolution that you're all, every conscious being is striving towards in each time that they go through another life. I think we get a couple of chances to figure things out, and I know when you die, it's not over, folks. Believe me, for me to come back, that says a lot. Okay, and I was drinking then. Sometimes we come home from one of those sightings, and you see 20 or 30 orbs doing basically a dance with you, and you're pretty excited to watch that footage. start drinking. But then eventually, that's that same system that happens as a result of the orbs helps you realize, well, I guess I just dissolved my pancreas, so it's time for me to stop drinking now, right? So enlightenment comes in many different forms from them. Yeah.
Well, what I want to ask too is your friend, and who is your friend that passed away from the documentary? I want to, and I know Dennis. Okay, and he had Dennis Deacon. And he had I know he said something about MUFON too. He had been doing this for a very long time, right? He had been doing Project similar.
I was for like 15 years before.
In that area.
Yeah. Yep. And he was filming, with night vision scopes and very primitive video and capturing. I mean, those flying triangles that he's got, are just magnificent. And, when Dennis would show up at a sighting, his belief system was so strong. He was such a believer that he would just lift the whole sighting up. And there was many times when Dennis and I would show up to do a sighting that before we even started signaling, as we were going up the hill together, a lot of times 2 orbs would be waiting for us up at the top of the hill, just over the horizon, to reflect, it's me and Dennis. And they'd match us with 2 orbs. And then when we set up our equipment and everything, and all the other ones would come in, but they would usually almost always greet us with the 2 big orbs that represented, I guess the first ones that we met because Dennis and I were, when I first started going out after the sighting in 2012 with Big Triangle over Seaside, then I enlisted Dennis's help and started the night that we could. So thousands of sightings.
And how often around there do you meet someone that into UFOs? Does that happen often, or that's a rarity, right?
Angel, that's in the second film, The Truth Seeker, she came forward when the first movie came out. She became a big fan of the movie and tried to contact me a lot. And there was a lot of people just overwhelming me with social media when the first movie came out. But she was very special, and she said some things that were really smart, and she brought herself down to a sighting. And the moment that we started signaling together, things started really breaking loose. So she's another one like that, or Dorothy Azad, or any of them that we all know and love. Were disrespected for so many years, being called crazy, and now we all know that they weren't. But I don't see them having a holiday, right, for any of the field observers' day. I think that should become a real holiday because it was the precursor to the most significant discovery in the history of mankind. So why wouldn't we have a holiday for that? Right.
Definitely, from Betty and Barney Hill, and so many cases out there that are definitely legendary.
Definitely. How about the guy?
That's a very unique case for sure. Definitely.
How about Arnold in his plane when he saw right?
Kevin Arnold, yeah, or Kenneth Arnold. Arnold,
right? I mean, he was a real pilot. That guy was like an ace pilot. He knew what he saw, right?
Yeah. When at the time he saw his sighting, he had logged over 2,700 hours of flight time.
Right.
So he wasn't an amateur.
No. And, back then, too, not too many people flew. So, you had to be pretty smart, or you had to be in the military or in the Air Force or something. So
I think he might have been ex-Air Force, but I don't recall for sure.
I don't know his whole life history, but and Byrd, how about Commander Byrd, right? Who went into the caverns of Alaska and brought back all this information that was totally suppressed by the government and is still suppressed. As a matter of fact, spelunking, in case you guys didn't know, going into caves inside the earth, you have to get permission to do that. Or it has to be an area that's opened as a park. But going into the earth and spelunking down inside the earth is really not legal.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's not legal. And if it's a really deep cave, you have to get permission to go in there. So.
He was in Antarctica too. Is that Byrd? You mean, didn't he go to Antarctica, that lost expedition and all that? Yes. I know that
story. Not the Krell. They call them Krell, but these disc-shaped craft. There is black and white footage of them fully engaged on that ship with discs coming out of the water, flying right by the conning tower, and firing on the ship. They took 4,000 troops went out there, and
Yeah.
like 112 came back.
You're talking about the last battle of World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right.
They lost several ships, and there were lots of casualties. So people that didn't come back.
That's right. It was a battle,
Yeah.
So
and I think what the Nazis would have called them was like the Haunebu 2 and Haunebu 3 craft.
The Haunebu, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Bell too, I can't remember what they
Die
call
Glocke.
it. Yeah, the Glocke. That thing, that engine for that thing was designed by some guy in like the 17 or 1800s. Where it was a steam-powered motor or something that created some kind of reaction. Because it was filled with a mercury, like there was a liner of mercury on the that started rotating around this reaction that was created magnetically by the water inside. That was the first iteration of it. But if you go into history, if you look at all of these pictures of these inappropriate looking zeppelins flying around with these people who look like they're from Victorian times, and it's supposed to be in India somewhere, the Vimana. Okay,
yeah,
I believe those are time travelers. Okay, I think that's a document of people that had, learned how to navigate time. Because some of those vehicles and some of the designs for them are just crazy.
They're way out of whack with our current technology. And the
technology.
Die Glocke, they don't know what happened to it. The suspicions are that they turned it on and it blinked out of time to some other time frame,
right?
And never was recovered. So who knows?
And same thing with the Manhattan Project. That's all documented stuff, man. It's one of the Manhattan
Project, and then the Philadelphia experiment. They're all interchanged.
Heinlein didn't change his whole story from it's all weather balloons and swamp gas to no, it's a supernatural phenomenon for nothing. He saw it right in front of his eyes. That's the reason that we're where we are here today, because people just kept hammering. Look, I saw this, and I don't care what you say. That's a pretty darn good stone wall to try to get around. So
right.
That's what my technique for people that hammer me with, they're airplanes. And I'm like, no, I know they're not.
I've actually encountered people that want to talk to me about UFOs, and I ask them a couple of key questions just to qualify them, how much they know. Have you heard of so-and-so? Have you heard of this? Have you read this book? Nope. Well, go look at those people and read those books, then come back to me. Otherwise, I'm not giving my information for free. You got to know something first.
Do the research, If it's waiting for you. All you have to do is go out and start doing it.
All free, right here in the tip of our fingerprints, right on the internet.
These people that they want to be like a UFO tourist, they go, "Can I come to a sighting and stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, here's the thing about that. We're talking about many, many years of doing this, and there's some things you have to learn how to do, like meditate before you go out on the sighting. And that's a real serious thing, and you can take it." Like at first, when I started doing it, I couldn't figure out why some of my sightings were just watered down nothing, and some of them were just gangbusters. And it was how I was presenting myself when I went to the sighting. So, meditation. Stephen Greer. That's the one thing you and I agree on. Meditation is definitely very necessary to put you in the right space to signal or try to do it with CSETI protocols or whatever it is that you choose to do.
Right.
But once you learn to communicate, you better learn how to calm down too, because they expect that for sure.
Yeah.
Do you really think they're seeing the lights and everything that you use? Is that they're interacting with those? I know you use flashlights and mirrors.
They communicate with photons. That's what all of this winking and blinking and them mimicking us. Photons, like when the orbs came within 50 feet of me or so over at the old place that I used to live at, they would pulse this kind of light that kind of rolled around, and every time they did that, you could feel it in your body. The other orb would respond with a similar flashing. So this was a language. It was a language that was using photons to communicate. That's where I heard about the whole thing with signaling after I saw an episode on Discovery Channel about a priest in Papua New Guinea who used a flashlight to stick some orbs that were hovering over a lake there. He was the priest that was right by the lake. And when he went to the lake, there was this giant, Nephilim-sized gray aliens in the ship that was. I have a photograph of it. That was kind of like a disc on the bottom that would look like it would normally have a dome. But imagine the dome all rolled away, so it's just now kind of like a chariot disc. They're standing in it, very tall. And there was this flashing light thing that was going around behind them. So the priest thought, well, maybe this is military. And he started signaling with prime numbers, which is what the military uses when they signal from an aircraft with a handset. So as soon as he started doing that, they started responding immediately with the same signals and light. So I said, you know what? If the Indians used torches, if the priest used a flashlight, I think I'm going to go with the flash, you know? And that's what I did.
How do you get some of that daytime footage? That's pretty rare to get footage like that. I mean, what are you doing to get some of that footage? I mean, what kind of technology is that?
It's straight photography. I use the sun to create an infrared flare so that if something is flying over the ground, it's illuminated from the light that's coming from the side. So it's infrared. And they operate in daylight in an infrared spectrum. So they're almost invisible, right? Very rarely do you see any orb footage where they're not white or close to a beige color. Very rarely do you see the red orbs in broad daylight. And that's simply because of, the spectrum of light that they're operating in the daytime. Also, they tend to move around a lot faster in the daytime than they do at night because of whatever activity they're doing in the day that I still haven't figured out. I have theories because I know that there are other entities that are organic to our planet that live in the upper atmosphere. And I don't know if that's a source of food for them or a source of energy or if they have some kind of a symbiotic relationship with them. Those are some of the unanswered questions.
It's definitely some amazing footage, no doubt about it. It's something else.
When you're talking about something moving at 2,000 or 3,000 miles an hour, too, birds are kind of out of the equation.
Yeah.
Some guy told me when I filmed this triangle-shaped disc coming out of a cloud. It was moving at least 1,300 miles an hour. It came out of the cloud, and by the time it got down to the bottom of this cloud, that was like 10 miles high or something like that, it had accelerated to like 12,000 miles. And it was dragging the cloud behind it as it passed by the cloud because it created its own orbit behind itself when it accelerated.
One of the weirdest ones I've ever seen was a big rusty ball, and nothing was holding it in the air. It was just like this big, weird, rusty ball, like it'd been in the ocean. But there was no chain above it. There was nothing holding it or suspending it in the air. It just passed right over.
Dennis had like that where by one of the naval bases here, out of a lake came this brass ball, or it looked like brass. And they actually took a picture of it. A guy that I know by the name of Steve probably still has that picture, but it was like what you say. It just looked like a metal ball, but it was that beige.
Similar.
Yeah. I've only heard about that one. Like I said, the nuts and bolts.
You don't forget, for sure. No doubt about it. There was one time I saw some triangle craft in my early 20s over power lines, and a ball of light came down, and my friend saw it as well. And I've had a lot of those instances, and I don't know I don't think I've been taken, but sometimes you're like, well, what if I haven't? I just don't remember anything. So that do you have that happen at all? I mean, I personally don't think I have, but maybe. I mean, I'm open that maybe it's a possibility. There's just been so many weird ones like that.
Well, I've woken up with scratches and with sore wrists and sore elbows, which someone's lifting you up like this through the ceiling, right? There's going to be a lot of load on your elbow and your wrist, because the weight of your body. Until they get you in the 0G environment, you're going to weigh the same amount as you do on the ground as you do if they lift you up. So one of the caveats and giveaways of them taking you is sore joints, bruises in areas that you could not reach with your own hand, or that were not the result of an impact from you falling out of the bed or something. And then there's this one piece of footage, I can't find it right now on the internet, I've been looking for it, where there's this man and this woman, and they're in bed, and they put a camera on because for minutes they were being taken while they were sleeping in bed. And up, they go to sleep, pull the covers over each other, and suddenly the covers just go, and they're gone. And then about 20 minutes later, and this is a time-lapse camera that's running, 20 minutes later, all of a sudden, covers fill up again and they're back. They had people in the room when this happened. So
yeah, I've seen that footage.
Have you? It's the most bizarre stuff I've ever seen.
There's a couple of good ones. There's another one where same scenario, but they don't both go away. There's like they both get into bed, and I think it's the wife that disappears. But there's a flash of light, and she's gone. He's still there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's footage where she comes back, but yeah. Wow.
But that is, to me, that makes a lot of sense. If they can manipulate particles, they can open a door anywhere, below you, next to you, above you. It doesn't make any difference. There's no up or down.
No, there's not. And Ben Rich and that guy that's the Bill Lear, the grandson of John Lear, they both said almost the exact same thing, that we have technology that's basically, if you've seen it on Star Trek, we can already do it. So it'd be no problem for them to. They have to put some kind of tracer on you. Like even in Star Trek, if you didn't have a communicator device on you, they can't find you. Well, so they have to put tracers in you somehow to beam you in and out of places.
Do you guys believe in the secret space force? Excuse me for 1 second. Answer that question.
Oh yeah,
I think there's something to it for sure.
Yeah. Well, definitely.
Because I had an experience with a Navy commander who was at a Valero, and he was at the Valero getting something. I think he was paying for his gas or something, and he had so many bars and so many stripes on his shoulders. I had asked him, I'm like, sir, I've got to ask you because I'm UFO researcher here in the area. I'm like, have you ever seen UFOs? He looked at me. He's like, have you? I just told you I'm a UFO researcher. I see them almost every day. He's like, well, if you're seeing them around here, he goes, that means that we've got to do something with that. That's all he said. He turned and walked out of the store. And a big, tall black guy. He was a very imposing person. And that you just remind me of something. Pacific Grove here in Monterey has become a location where a lot of these people who work at those bases live. They've increased the cost of living here in Monterey so that it's around $2,000 for even a small place, right? And that means that all of the houses are going to all of these military officers, to people in the Air Force, whatever, and they all have these supercars. Okay, they've got Camaros and SRTs, and they all have these markings on them that are these two wings with a ball that says the Guardians on it. Okay, that's a very strange symbol. Ball with two wings on it. And also on the side of the building for the DOD, also on the side of the building at the Skunk Works tent. I don't know if you guys know this, but I broke into the NASA research facility and went over their fence like an idiot. And
didn't know that.
I did a sighting right next to it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then they had the guys on me in like about 10 minutes in the white trucks, and fortunately for me, I got my big fat butt back over the chain line, the fence quick, and no sooner did I get away from that place than as I was going under the bridge, this was up in Cupertino, down the exits on the street that I was exiting from the base on. Who is it? It's 4 soldiers in full body, all holding M16s, a Ford K car. When was the last time you saw a Ford K car? This anybody in it, and this was like in 2017, a Ford K car, right? They went driving right by me. I did this with my glasses like I'm a nutty professor, looking the other way. So they thought I was some crazy guy, but they were looking for me, boy. They did not dig the fact that I made those orbs show up above that net, because the whole time showed up.
What did they say to you? What did the military police say to you?
Halt. That was all I heard.
Yeah.
Oh, I went off the fence. I hopped into the old car and I just went zooming away. A lot of those guys were like my size, so they couldn't run that fast,
Had to be some big time anxiety for sure.
Oh yeah, I'll never do that one again. Let me tell you, you think there's going to be a bunch of friendly scientists in the base there at NASA? It's not like that. It's mostly military guys, and they've all got cap guns, So I stay out of the line of fire.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Labco Productions. You on FM Radio. I'll call you back when I can. Peace. Okay.
Peace. Well, great to have you here, and we got a little whiles to go. We end at 5 till, so hopefully you're okay till then. If not, let me know. 5 till 9. Right now it's 8:27, so 5 till 9 we'll end the broadcast. It's been great though.
You want.
I had originally bought your DVD, and I have it in physical form, and I've seen it several times, and we just watched it again, me and Christina, and then last night we saw the sequel, and I enjoy both of them. It's definitely a story that I can relate to from having weird UFO experiences myself. The tragedy, I've been through that, testicular cancer since I was 17, so I'm glad you're showing that side, because not often does everyone get to see that side with any of this stuff, and what people that go through these experiences go through, let alone the people who are mouthpieces for it. So it's just good to see an inside, more inside look at it for sure.
Well, I'm not making UFO porns. I'm making, I'm making movies about the subject, and most importantly about the people who do it. Because like I said, the field researchers have just kind of been brushed aside all of a sudden, and they're just clowns. It's just us flying around the Space Force. We're doing these formations and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, you're not. I've been right up next to these things. I know what they are. I know what they aren't. I know when it's you. I can tell the difference between you and them in the same airspace just by how you move. So, they test you. They'll test you till the cows come home about what you think you know. That's the game. The game is to get you to second guess yourself. And when they made their statement, they came out with this thing, we studied 127 craft and blah, blah, blah. And we don't know what they are. And that cost how many millions of dollars, right? You can get more information on YouTube, okay, than you can from any of the so-called experts that people like to come on board as the one-stop place to get accurate information about this subject. That is the biggest line of baloney. I wanted to say something else. Okay? That there is on boots on the ground, in the field, experience in multitude. Okay, not just here's my sighting that the Navy filmed, right? And I'm going to run that for you again. Let's run that clip again, right? Well, how do we know from moment to moment what's changed since then? Because those are all clips. That footage was filmed long ago, right? There's the objects you were talking about in daylight, for instance. A lot of people would give the hardest time for that because They thought it was dust, that I was blowing the image out, by ballooning the focus, right? That's not what's going on. And it wasn't until those photographs that the girl took with her iPhone right out of the jet itself, okay, where you see the exact object that looks like a piece of dust floating by in that daylight footage. Those aren't dust balls, folks. Those cameras that they're using are focused at 1,500, 2,500 feet in the air. Dust balls don't move along at like a half a mile an hour and then stop dead in front of the camera for a second or two and then decide what direction they're going to go in randomly against all of the dust that you can see, which is doing that, right? But like I said, the so-called experts will try to, it's just a seed floating along at 36,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The same guy that told me it was a goose dive bombing through a cloud that was 10,000 feet high. I'm like, sorry.
with my knowledge of photography, cinematography, and the way video cameras work, I've been able to debunk some of the fake orbs. I can tell right away. Sure. The real ones are legit. There's no way to describe them or explain them.
Yeah.
I've been able to also the rods. The video footage of the rods that came out some years ago. It's just a bug. It's captured on several frames of video, and it just elongates. But right. I've seen actual celluloid film of orbs. There's no way to explain how that orb is in the still picture.
I'm shooting the camera with a slow shutter setting that would do that to the moths too. They don't. None of the information that you give them about what you're doing with your camera seems to matter to those people. Either.
No, it doesn't. They just want to debunk the information. And I've seen there's one really good emulsion film photograph of this lady she's covered in orbs. And I think it's a black and white photo.
You're talking about spirit orbs, right?
Yeah, but it's not dust on the camera because there's another picture of her in the same room from the same roll,
right?
And there's nothing there.
Right.
So it's like there's a picture of her, there's a bunch of dots, and then there's a picture of her, and then there's nothing. So on the same film roll, these things appeared within 3 or 4 frames. They're not on the lens, they're not floating in the air, and it's not a trick of the light. It's not something that was added later because Photoshop didn't exist. So right. There's some legitimate ones out there that are just you look at it and go,
I know.
I don't know how to explain that.
Well, the whole thing with photography is like you're trying to capture these objects in as clear a fashion with every possible advantage that you could give yourself, but they're UFOs. Mm-hmm. So they don't look like anything that you normally would consider to be technology. They're technology to us, like you were saying. Some of it looks and feels more organic than it does like a machine, right? So
they're thousands of years ahead of us, and we can't even fathom what that could be.
To be some aerodynamic shape when that isn't even the system of inertia that makes it do that. It's again us trying to take this little tiny amount of knowledge that we have called our science and apply it to something that we don't understand.
Stuff that doesn't apply to our science.
Well, scientists want everything to be repeatable, and so when
the best example we have is like there are some great photographs of the cigar-shaped carrier craft that they have. Yeah. They are completely not aerodynamic at all. It's a giant tube in the middle of the sky. How does it fly? It's not. It's floating with technology. It's not flying at all. It's evading the gravity somehow.
Creating a pressure wave that it rides along on,
Yeah.
A hummingbird doesn't fly. A dragonfly doesn't fly. They vibrate their wings at such a high rate of speed, at such an incredible, they create a pressure wave below them. So they're surfing around on that pressure wave. Mm-hmm. That's why they can move unlike any other bird, because they don't need lift. They
can stop in the air and dart. Yeah,
exactly. It's a whole other way of movement. That's what some of the orbs do that too. So
Yeah, and a guy once said to me one time. He said, if you see a bird flying backwards, they reverse the film on you.
Well, the good thing too about this subject is that if you're prolific enough and you go out there enough and you make an effort to capture stuff, after a while people start to realize that this can't moves or any of that stuff, and some of the people that I've taken out into the field with me, they found that out too. And most of the people that I've taken out inside this, by the way, this is kind of a thing that I don't know how it worked out, but a lot of people that came up to test me on that turned out to be like aerospace engineers, people that work for NASA, Skunk Works, a whole range of those people. Boston Dynamics guy came up. A guy from Leica factory in Germany came to see if it was my optics that was doing that.
Yeah.
They all went away convinced that it was exactly what I told them it was going to be. And so much so that, I hear from them every day to this day, and they'll come to my defense when people are rattling my cage about what I am or not doing. Those experts come forward and speak to that issue.
That's pretty cool.
I'm sorry?
That's pretty cool that they'll come up and defend you, because for years, and you're not the first one. We talked earlier about Billy Meyer and the guy in Florida. Billy Meyer, people are wanting, scratching their head on him. He's got some of the clearest photographs of unidentified aircraft that have ever come out.
Those
people are like, well, it's Photoshop. He's been taking these pictures since the 50s. It's not Photoshop.
It's film. It's film.
Yeah, it's actually motion film. Yes.
When you see a disc going around a tree that's 40 feet tall and the top of the tree is being affected by the inertia that's coming off of that disc, that's not something he could do with special effects, one guy. No. That would require about 20 people to make that happen.
Especially with the cameras he was using back then. Yeah, and he's got one arm.
Yeah,
he's got one arm, and he's taking these fantastic pictures. So how was he able to focus on these things? Because the guy they're there wanting him to take these photographs of them, their craft, for whatever message it is. I still don't think Billy knows the true message, but he's still around. He's still taking photographs. And so are you. I mean, how many years have you been doing it now? 11 years, and he's been doing it since the 70s.
15 years now. Yeah,
15.
And, I've been experiencing it longer than that, but
right.
The answer is coming, and like I said, a lot of what you will learn about is yourself. They teach you a lot about yourself watching them. So for me, that's the upsides of it, is trying to improve a little bit, like quit drinking, smoking cigarettes, no pills or hard drugs, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
that's the stuff that's good for you, that you learn from them very fast, because I don't see any orbs rolling around, with a bottle and, gassing up with a little bourbon or wild baby. I just don't see it, So, and then, also too, the research has motivated things like they wrote a song about me called Hey Christo, a band called Blitz Vega. That's Andy Rourke from the Smiths, and the guitar player and singer from Gorillaz. They started at Blitz Vega. They did a song that was recorded in the Abbey Road studio.
Oh, cool.
They used the amplifiers that David Bowie used to record Major Toms, and even some of the guitars that the Beatles used to record that song. So if you guys want to go check that out. And also, I guess this is probably a good time to let people know that now both films are available on Vimeo Pro. The great thing about Vimeo Pro is this. When my movie was on Netflix, it's wonderful. They're very good at promoting something, and they're even better at making sure that a lot of people see it. That was to be on Netflix, and I thank all of the people at Netflix for that. But really, it was very expensive for us, the makers of the film. It took a long time for us to even generate the cash that we could. So this time we decided, let's go somewhere that really caters to the independent filmmaker and allows us to exhibit our film internationally, which when we released on Netflix, that was United States and Canada and a couple of other markets.
Yeah, maybe Mexico,
South Mexico, right? But other than that, the rest of the world didn't get to see the movie. And that really upset me. And it also really upset me that Netflix didn't subtitle it in Spanish for, 3/4 of the world is, Latino speaking languages. So that would be a given, right? But our new film has subtitles for people who speak Spanish and for people who obviously hear or deaf or what have you, right? They can read the subtitles. Both films now are on Vimeo Pro. You don't have to subscribe to watch the movies on Vimeo Pro. So when you go there, you just you pay for the download, you get it for 3 days, and you're good to go. And the quality that you get off of Vimeo is really, really great. So I'm very happy having our movies there, and just the whole arrangement of being able to oversee what's actually happening with the films.
So what was the significance of dropping the curse? Is the curse dropped?
Well, obviously not. I mean, the second film I said to be a horror movie more than anything else. We wanted it to be a happy road trip movie, with me chasing my friend Angel, but life gives you what it gives you, and when you're making a documentary, one of the big rules is you stick with the source material. Whatever is presented, that's the story. You have to tell the story accurately as it happens, and as much as we could. That's what we tried to do. Remember, I was homeless after I left the house in the first movie for almost a year to get the car. Because Monterey is so expensive to live in that even a local like me who has stacks and stacks of receipts to prove he pays the rent on time, you don't have that credit report, you're competing with, like I said, military people that can afford $4,000 or $5,000 a month for a rental with their family. So it was really, really difficult. As a matter of fact, that song I told you about, I was in my car, living in my station wagon, one of the locations where I do my sightings, because it had a bathroom and a shower, and it had a place to wash and shower and stuff. It's right there in the park. And that's where I found out about the song on Thanksgiving night while me and Gino were splitting some food from Whole Foods that we had gotten and taken back to this campground. And all of a sudden I hear this song about me on the radio. And, that's real telling. If you're into this stuff, you better be prepared for some ups and downs, because there's all kinds of personalities and these people along the way that are going to throw some curveballs at you, especially when you tell them that you're one of those guys that sees UFOs.
Yeah.
People might smile and go, "Oh, great," but yeah, it doesn't always work out to be that kind of a reaction, truly. So. Yeah,
A lot of them, do they just ignore you? I mean, a lot of them seem pretty open to it, but a lot of them, I know you had one story, some lady did something stupid or something like that. But
well, I told you I had just gone through something where I was severely hurt, physically assaulted because of my beliefs in this subject. And I mean, I'm not talking like just a couple of taps. I'm talking like put in the hospital. That's why I'm not going to go into detail right now, because it's still
understood. Yes,
litigated, still being litigated.
I understand, though. I understand. I had Carter Bouchard on. He works for BFRO, a big Bigfoot organization, and we were just talking about the difference between people who believe Bigfoot is a physical creature that's like an undiscovered ape or whatever, or paranormal. But at one point I had someone threaten to beat me up on Facebook because I thought Bigfoot was paranormal, like weird stuff like that.
Everybody needs to remember about Facebook, and I'm just going to say it right now. Facebook is not the real world, folks. It's not the real world. It's a place where I go to wish all the people who wish me well a happy birthday every day, or maybe to respond to something that they post there. But if you think that, emoting or trying to get your id out on Facebook is going to make a difference. It's nice when people
it's a mess.
They help people financially or something. That's nice, but don't rely on Facebook to measure the worth of your own life, because it's not the real world, ladies and gentlemen. It is a social media spot where some good things happen, some not so good things happen.
Yep.
And if you're smart, you'll stick to less is more. And it really is. You try to be as nice as you can, and try to be as nice as you would want somebody else to be nice to you. Because that's the only thing that's going to make social media last any longer than it has already. And
It's a mess. I don't get into big discussions on there because I just don't. I'm kind of short. I'm surprised so many people are on my page, to be honest.
Yeah. Immediately it turns into an argument, and I'm not on this earth. That's age 63 to live out whatever amount of time I have left here arguing with anybody about this.
Exactly. It's not worth the time. One thing I wanted to ask you, did you ever see the documentary that Dan Aykroyd did, the actor, about UFOs, Unplugged, the one that, did you get to see that one with Dan, the actor from Ghostbusters?
The guy that passed away too, that did a lot of the sites. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, you know who the actor is, of course. It's called Dan Aykroyd Unplugged, and it's just a whole documentary where he's smoking.
There was a guy featured in it, right? That
David Sarita.
Right, and he passed away, didn't he? Or is he still?
I don't know. I'd have to check. It's a lot of people have been passing away lately from COVID and stuff. That Robert David Steele. He was like a CIA dude that wrote some book or something. He was on my show a long time ago. He passed away.
It's two people that bad, and again, like I've banned myself from making any or too many public statements that have any kind of political repercussions or go against these groups of people who have decided that it's some kind of a conspiracy thing. And I go back to the same thing. Less is more. I went in, I got my shots, okay? And one thing I noticed immediately after having my vaccine shots was my sense of taste returned immediately, and it was gone for 6 or 7 months. I'm a chef, so I know, when I'm cooking, if I can actually taste the ingredients I'm cooking, literally within 24 hours, my whole sense of taste. So it's doing something good. But
I got the first one. I have to go get the second one.
Social media.
I understand, definitely. I got the first one. I have to go get the second one at October 13th. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to enjoy it much, but I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it. Get it over with.
But stepfather's like this big 6'3" Polish guy. And bullets bounce off of it. Big Mike, shoot him. Boom, but bullets bounce off, right? But he goes to the place to get his vaccination, right? He comes back and says, my arm is killing me. So I gave him a little shot. How's it feel now?
For sure. So what do you hope to embody in the third movie? What do you want to do? Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Third movie, I will give you the theme of the third movie. The third movie's theme is about forgiveness, and I'm sure if you paid attention to this first and second movie, a lot of my personal issues were around things that were unresolved. And so in the next film, you're going to see an actual attempt to make peace with everybody in every arena. Family, people that I do research with, that think my research is baloney, everybody. And to try to use the film, not only, and also just so you know, this third film, I want to direct. I really want to bring the director of the second film back onto the project and co-direct and be the director of photography because he did such a great job on the second film. Looked absolutely spectacular, especially UFO stuff. And I want to direct the second one because a lot of people, they're so used to watching UFO porn, as I call them, that, I want them to understand that there are thousands and thousands of hours of really crazy sightings that I haven't put out in the movies. And for personal reasons. But I plan on creating quite a stir with the stuff that I haven't released in the third film. So there'll be that. There'll be the personal journey. And I think this one is going to end with a little bit more resolve, and also hoping that, so we're in discussions right now with certain individuals about there being some kind of a series for television or what have you, but that's still in the works. I'm of the mind that after a third film on the subject, I'm going to be ready to take a break for about a year or so, get away from filmmaking and just go out into the field, do my research, and take a deep breath for about a year. Because I've been doing this straight since 2014, and at my own personal expense, it's taken a lot out of me. So I want to make sure that the third film is just so grandiose, and so jaw-dropping that I'm pretty sure I need to oversee the editing and the direction of the first, just to make sure that I can kind of movie. Because when you hire a director, you can't exactly tell them exactly what to do. When you produce it, you have to give them some free rein and tell the story that they want to. And that's what I attempted to do with both directors. And both directors delivered a wonderful film. I'm very grateful for both of them having come on board. But there are some things that even a director who believes UFOs or is filming himself just won't do. And we're going to break a few rules next week. And I'm going to make sure that some people understand that this UFO thing I've been studying is it's vast. And there's so much stuff that I couldn't share all of it with everybody in just 2 movies. So third one, we're going to try to get a good portion of that out there.
Cool. Well, keep me in the loop for sure. We got about 3 minutes. It's been great having you on, and definitely we'll get you on again. I'm just glad the tech stuff worked out. I had some anxiety about that, but luckily everything's fine about that. So yeah. I've really enjoyed it. A shaman once told me, named Itzhak Berry, and I just want to say this before we end up going, that the dead can travel as a spear of light and travel. And I think there's something to that with light beings.
But a spear is the perfect shape, whether you're a spirit or you're an orb. Okay? When you're going to travel through the ether or you're going to go to the other side, the sphere, it's the perfect shape. We're made of a bunch of spheres called cells, right? Mm-hmm. So there it is. Great wisdom.
Yes, definitely. That's a fascinating way to look at it for sure.
Great wisdom is coming out of both of you tonight, and I really appreciate the opportunity to appear here on the show. And I, because we did something before, and it just felt right. I did a lot of interviews with people, and I tried this time around to come back to the people that I felt were really listening and that honored the subject with a good talk like this. And I hope I didn't swear. Did I swear?
No, I don't think you did. You did good. You did good. You did good.
I think I was thinking, well, that's like 50% of what I say. So
yeah, no F-bombs today. We're pretty good.
Yeah, you did good. I love your movies. I love the story. I'm glad you're still kicking and didn't croak. It's been a hell of a time. The place I'm at right now, there's been weird paranormal stuff, and I've seen UFOs and some weird beings, but here there's like ghost stuff, like a glass blew up, something hit our bed.
Light some sage, get some sage out, sage your house, man. Sage is powerful. Really powerful.
Definitely. I'll do it. Okay. Definitely, but you think of all the Conjuring and horror movies when the glass blows up, so you're like, it makes you paranoid for sure. But I've loved it, man. Thanks so much, and we'll get you back on and stay in touch, and thanks so much.
Yes, indeed, my brothers. And you have a good, safe journey. Peace to you, and thank you for your time. Ciao, everybody, and
Take care.
Eyes. Bye-bye.
Eyes to the skies. Thank you. Christo Roppolo and Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs and The Man Who Sees UFOs. Definitely worth checking out. He's an eccentric character, like definitely a trip.
Exactly like he is in his movies. He's
yeah,
exactly like he is in his movies.
And the thing is, he has the footage. Look at the footage. I'm telling you, it's some good stuff. It's worth looking at.
Yeah, I don't watch the second one.
Yeah, the second one's good for sure. And it happens in that place. Like he knew another guy that passed away that did the same thing as he did, and he had some MUFON connections. So there are other people in this area getting this phenomenon. He's not just kooky or out of his mind. There's other people seriously like saying, "What the hell is this stuff?" It's so weird.
If I'm not mistaken, Monterey is towards the bottom of the state, kind of near the San Diego area, and there's like 3 or 4 different USO bases down there. Under
could be military. Who knows what it is?
Yeah, could be.
Some of it does look like weird jellyfish and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, of course, we're doing good now, and we pulled through. I about had a panic there for a minute at the beginning. I didn't know what was going to happen, but then a cold or something with my cotton mouth. But we survived, and we got him here, and that's what counts. And I'm glad he's still kicking. He's definitely a trip. That's Curse of the Man That Sees UFOs and the Man That Sees UFOs. You're listening to United Public Radio 107.7. Everybody have a good weekend. Stay out of trouble. Good night. Good night. I bid you welcome. Good night. All right, end broadcast.